Shabbat Shalom. It's been a busy week. How many of you watched the convention or part of it? Okay, almost all. You watched all 4 days? Okay, some very dedicated people here. No matter where you fall on the issues, this was a historic moment. The first woman of color to be nominated for president, and oh yeah, she has a Jewish husband too. I think it's been a topic of much conversation, topic of joy for some and exploration, consternation. Yesterday, I dropped Ari off at camp, and another mom from her class was dropping off at the same time, and she's Sri Lankan. She came up to me. She said, "I'm so excited. My mother's name was Kamala." And she said, "I wish she were alive to see this because she wouldn't believe it." I thought, yeah, that's pretty extraordinary that we have a woman named Kamala who's now running for president of the United States. How many of you watched the speech of Rachel Goldberg and John Polin? Okay, many, but not everybody. If you haven't yet seen these 9 minutes, it is the most important thing that you can do as a Jewish person this weekend. Go home and watch the 9 minutes of this speech. Rich is agreeing with me, getting a couple of nods. I am quite convinced that seeing this may just change your life. Rachel Goldberg and John Polin are parents of Hirsch. He is one of the 8 Americans still held in captivity, stolen from the music festival on October 7th. There are 109 hostages still captive, 8 Americans. Their speaking was such an outcry of pain, such a beautiful expression of what we've all experienced and what, thankfully, none of us here can even imagine. I was thinking about what they said to the American people and the whole wide world, standing up on this important stage and sharing the extraordinary pain through which they've navigated these last, I think, 321 days now, many months, as they have waited and prayed and worked to try and bring about this release of the 109. I was thinking about everything that they said when I read the Torah portion this week, Parshat Ekev, which continues in Moses' repetition or remembrance of all the things that he had led our people through. If you haven't been here in the last couple of weeks, I'll just say that Moses is 39 years and 11, maybe and a half by now, months into leading us to the Promised Land, which makes him 119 and 11 and a half months. He's been really busy. He's ready to retire, but before he retires, he shares a legacy with us, reminding us all of the places that we've been and all the things that we've done. And in this week's Torah portion, he reminds us of something extremely important. He reminds us of going up to receive the 10 Commandments. And he reminds us that he stayed up on the mountaintop for 40 days and 40 nights, communing with God, at which time he brought down these beautiful tablets. And he reminds us that when he gets to the bottom of the mountain and reunites with the Israelites who were supposed to be waiting for him, he finds us celebrating the golden calf. He reminds us that in that moment, he threw the tablets down and they shattered. And then he went back up to get new tablets. But God instructed him to take those broken tablets and to put them into an ark that we would carry with us everywhere that we would go. And so instead of just giving us these beautiful tablets, like that, Instead of painting them gold and letting us celebrate them, we have this part of our story, our history, which brings us really to today. It's the story of our brokenness that comes with us everywhere we go. Why does God insist that we take these broken tablets when God carves new ones, or Moses carves them at God's command, or the worm carves them, as Nancy said? It's believed that a special worm carved the 10 Commandments, maybe in the moments between sunset and Shabbat entering on Friday afternoon. Wherever these tablets came from, we had 10 perfectly good instructions on 2 tablets to begin with. But then the interaction between people caused Moses so much emotion that he threw them down. And instead of leaving them to go back into the dust or to just be swept up somewhere, God instructs Moses to take them and to put them into an ark and to have us carry them everywhere we go. It's the story of our brokenness, of our missteps, of our mistakes. It's the story of us taking that with us wherever, as we encounter the rest of our lives, holding on to the brokenness which accompanies us. It's the story also of the perseverance that we must have as we figure out how to rectify and correct and begin anew. It's the story of the imperfection of the journey. It's the story of us never giving up. By keeping these broken tablets at the center of our community, we are never allowed to forget all the things that have gone wrong, the hurts, the journey, the process that didn't go so well, and the places that we need to repair. As I watched Rachel Goldberg and John Poland stand at the Democratic National Convention and cry out with their pain to America and the world beyond, I was reminded of these tablets that God instructed us to keep in the center of our community always. The brokenness, the anguish, the story which is theirs, which remains unhidden, and just this week became very public. The response of the community as they were talking was overwhelming. It was overwhelming to them as they stood there, wiping tears, but to all of us, even as we listened to these 9 minutes of them talking, the chanting, "Bring them home." A story which has too often in these last number of months felt like just ours, like people had forgotten about the 109 who were there, like people have forgotten about the Bebus boys, 1 and 5 years old, who are stuck somewhere. It seems that as all of these days have gone on, we have not been joined by the world in an outcry of pain. And when Rachel and John stood there crying out in their hometown of Chicago about their son, who was born in Oakland, actually, and then moved to Israel for their great belief in Aliyah, for the incredible commitment that they had to populating and living in and expressing their lives in the Jewish homeland, they talked about their shattered world, the pain that they bring with them, and it is the pain of all of us. It was extraordinary to see how they were able to share that, and it was extraordinarily moving to feel that the world joined with us in understanding a tiny, tiny bit about that pain. It is, I think, one of the great blessings of the lessons of God that we have learned to express that pain, not to be broken by it, but to be always moving forward and never forgetting what came before. It is this that is truly, I think, the legacy of the Jewish people. Never forget. Never forget, so that we will be moved forward to a better place. Tonight, as we join together, we remember and pray for the release of the 109, the healing of their families, and all of us, the pain that all of us experience in the Jewish community and far beyond, that was shared in those moments this week by the rest of the community, to recognize how we can move forward and honor the excruciating pain that remains at the center of our community, even as we look to finding a solution and peace. Shabbat Shalom.